Oh, hey, friends. So we are sliding straight into the holidays, and Black Friday is already breathing down our necks like it's got something to prove, like heat-seeking missiles aimed right at your insecurities. And every company swears the cure for your soul wound is hidden in a limited time deal. Spoiler, it's not. So let's just call this out now before the ads hit, before the pressure hits, before the overwhelm swallows the room. We need to talk about gift giving, gift receiving, consumerism, and that sneaky little monster none of us want to admit is riding shotgun, the emotional void. Because all of these collide at the exact same time every year, and most of us are already exhausted before the first coupon code even drops. There's that hollow knock in your chest, that ache that feels like something's missing, and the world tells us to shut up by shoving things into it. More things, new things, shiny things, expensive things, thingy things. And by February, half of it is forgotten, donated, or shoved in one closet. You don't open unless you're feeling brave. But here's the actual question. Why is that empty space there? And why does it refuse to stay quiet? So let's take a breath. Let's take a seat. Let's take a deep dive into what we're really doing when we give, why we overextend, and what we're trying to fix inside ourselves, and how to give in a way that actually heals instead of hurts. So grab your favorite beverage, a snack, a notepad if you want to take notes, a cuddle kitty, a cuddle puppy, and I'll meet y'all on the other side of the intro. So before we get into this serious stuff, I need to show you all something that keeps showing up in my feed. It's a thingy thing, and of course I want it. It's a sweater. This masterpiece, a cat smoking a Marlboro in a Christmas sweater. This thing is aggressively ugly and proudly deranged and spiritually unnecessary, which means it speaks directly to my soul. This sweater is peak comedy. It is unhinged. It's chaotic. It's art. And honestly, I would wear this like a badge of honor because nothing says I survived the simulation. All I got was this Marlboro cat sweater like this blessed abomination. You cannot look at this thing and stay sad. You cannot. The serotonin hits against your will. Look, I know I'm talking about consumerism and filling the void, but also, have you seen this monstrosity? I'm not above chaos. I'm participating with enthusiasm. And before anyone comes for me, yes, I am currently considering buying this unhinged Marlboro cat sweater. Yes, I know we're talking about consumerism and filling voids. And yes, I know it fills no void except the one labeled chaotic serotonin. I am a menace after all. But listen, I don't rise above the human condition. I embrace it. Sometimes healing is letting yourself have one deeply unnecessary, aggressively ugly, gloriously stupid thing just to remind yourself you're still alive. Anyway, I needed to show this to you because this is absolutely ridiculous in the best possible way. No, we're going to carry on now. It- let's be honest here. Everything is expensive. Everyone is broke. Brokety broke. And yet here we are, gearing up to perform the annual holiday musical called It's Fine, I Can Totally Afford This, when deep down, we've got the crazy eyes and we're all humming Jackson Brown. You know the one. Running on empty, running wild, running into the sun, but I'm running behind. And if you are me, you sang this out loud in aisle 8 of the grocery store as if Weenie is your personal audience because that is how far the cheese has slipped off your cracker. Weird visual, right? Yeah, okay, well, we're going to move along. And I don't care who you are. This year has been hard on everyone. And because it's been so hard, there's this pressure rising inside so many of us. I need to make this the best holiday season ever for my spouse who has been working double time to help make ends meet, or for my kids who have had to deal with grumpy parents that are physically and mentally drained, for my best friend who lost the love of her life. But here's the truth most people won't say out loud. We don't actually need more stuff. We need less pressure, less pretending, less debt, and more connection. Because it's not the gifts that are heavy, it's the expectations. And here's a truth that nobody wants to admit. You can't fill a void with things, not yours, not theirs. A shiny new gift might distract someone for a moment, but once the sparkle fades, that emptiness creeps right back in like a bad penny. Oh, speaking of pennies, y'all heard we're not minting pennies anymore? Sorry, squirrels. You know how it is. Anyway, here's the part we don't admit out loud. A lot of us give because it makes us feel good. We want other people to feel good too, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's human, it's loving, it's beautiful, but sometimes we start trying to make other people feel a certain way because we're trying to quiet something inside ourselves. And that's when the trouble starts. That's when we overspend, we overcommit, overextend, buy the thing that they didn't ask for, that they don't need, or they won't use, or will quietly regift in July. It's not because we're careless or because we're wasteful, but because we're trying to soothe the wound inside ourselves by fixing something outside ourselves. And at what cost? I'm not just the financial cost, though blowing your budget absolutely will show up in January like a debt collector with an attitude, but the emotional cost, the energetic cost, the physical burnout, the resentment that whispers, why do I always do this to myself? This is why the holidays hit so hard. Not because we're giving too little, but because we're giving from the wrong source. When you give from emptiness, every gift drains you. When you give from fullness, every gift multiplies. And that is where the real shift begins. You know, we often buy gifts not because they're needed, but because we're trying to make someone feel a certain way, loved or appreciated, or seen or healed, or less sad or less alone. But gifts can't do emotional labor, and a candle can't cure grief, a gadget can't fix burnout, a blanket can't heal a heartbreak, and a kitchen appliance can't repair a relationship. Because what we're really trying to give wasn't the object. What we're trying to give is relief. The relief of trying to fill someone else's void. Their void wasn't caused by a lack of objects, so objects can't fix it. They need support, empathy, healing, grounding, boundaries, connection. We want people to feel better. That's the good heart in us, but a gift can't do the emotional labor that they have to do. And what happens next? We end up feeling like we failed. We spent the money. We picked the thing. We wrapped it pretty. We hoped it would fix something. And when it doesn't land the way we imagined, the disappointment hits us harder than the gift hit them. Because we weren't just giving an item, we were giving the unspoken expectation, I hope this makes you whole again. But that's not what gifts are for. And honestly, it's not fair to them or to us. Trying to fill someone else's void drains you, overspending, overextending, draining your energy, stressing your budget, and then blaming yourself when the gift doesn't fix them. So let's go one layer deeper while we're being honest. The entire holiday machine is built on one idea: buy more, spend more, fix more, prove more. There's this loud culture message that love equals money, value equals stuff, generosity equals debt, happiness equals what's under the tree, and your worth as a person equals how much you can buy. Listen. That's not generosity. That's capitalism cosplaying as connection. And we've been conditioned to confuse the two. We're drowning in unnecessary consumerism. Gifts people don't want, stuff they don't use, plastics and junk that end up in landfills, death that follows people well into spring, and a dopamine hit that lasts maybe 12 minutes if we're lucky. And meanwhile, the things that actually make people feel loved: time, presence, warmth, help, support, shared moments, those things cost little to nothing. Holiday burnout isn't caused by giving too little, it's caused by giving for the wrong reasons. Because when you give from emptiness, every gift drains you. When you give from guilt, every gift feels heavy. When you give from expectation, every reaction feels like rejection. When you give from overcompensation, every dollar feels like a wound. But when you give from clarity, intention, and true love, even a small gesture feels like abundance. People don't need piles of stuff. People have been attempting to fill the void for so long now that piles of stuff have taken over our lives. People need presence, nourishment, emotional safety. Those aren't marketed because they can't be monetized, but they matter more than anything Amazon can deliver in 2 days. And the reality of the cost of overgiving is that giving from guilt drains you. Giving from clarity and truth heals everyone. What this emotional void really is, it's an emptiness. And this emptiness, it's not a flaw, it's an alarm. It's your heart saying, I need connection. I need rest. I need meaning. I need help. I need nourishment. I need someone to see me. Because emotional voids can only be filled with healing, self-reflection, boundaries, faith, support, personal work, connection, real change, and God, not things. And when we try to step in and fix someone with gifts, what we're really doing is avoiding the discomfort of witnessing their pain. Let me repeat that for everyone in the back of the room. When we try to step in and fix someone with gifts, what we're really doing is avoiding the discomfort of witnessing their pain. But instead of answering the need, society hands us coupons. Everything is expensive. People are drowning. Groceries have pretty much doubled. Houses are cluttered. Bodies are exhausted. Thoughts are overwhelmed. And the holiday spirit feels like pressure, not joy. So what do? We buy more things. We give more things. And we hope it fills the void. But it doesn't. It never has. So let's dialogue about gifts that actually help. Instead of filling houses with more objects, let's fill lives with support, real, tangible, soul level support. And a little anecdote here, a little story right here in the middle of preparing this episode about gifts that nourish instead of numb. Whether you're a believer or not, and I am, God gave me a living, breathing example of this soul level support. My friend Methods, shout out and shameless plug to Methods and Words and Stuff, Tuesday through Fridays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central on rumbleandpill.net. Anyway, my friend Methods, he calls these God nods. Someone, and she knows exactly who she is. Beautiful woman. She sent me a gift that hit me straight in my soul. Not a trinket, not a cute little mug, not a quick Dollar Tree card. She sent me something that spoke directly to a prayer I hadn't even said out loud yet. I've been worrying quietly that, I don't have a support system. I'm doing this alone. Nobody shows up for me. But God heard that fear before I ever admitted to it. And He sent someone to me, a friend who sees the fire in me and wanted to pour into it. So this was abundance in relational form. This was God saying, "You are not forgotten." I keep asking Him to show up in ways that I can feel, and He did. Right on time, right when I'm sitting here writing about the difference between gifts that fill a void and gifts that restore the soul. So this is the kind of gift I'm talking about, the kind that fills a gap you've been carrying quietly. That is sacred, serendipitous synchronicity. And I'm a firm believer that there are signs everywhere. And I wanted to honor that and her here. Thank you, beautiful friend, for being a living blessing. I absolutely love you bunchies. So, what are some gifts that can actually help? Here's some examples. Pay for an oil change for somebody. Oil changes are expensive these days, and as a high mileage uh, Mustang owner, I know. And I'm diligent about changing my oil as the seasons change. So, if you're fortunate enough to have deep pockets and afford to gift someone even a tune up, do it because those are expensive too. Maintaining basic transportation is nearly doubled, and it is more important than ever to take care of what we have because have you seen car prices? And if you don't have a lot of cash, something real thoughtful that we often forget we need until we need them, wiper blades. And then show them how to install them. Something else, you can help with yard cleanup. And this is wonderful, especially for the elderly or those who just aren't as physically capable as they used to be. This can be a godsend, literally, especially for someone who may be under an HOA and getting harassed by the busybodied, overachieving HOA tattletale that their grass is a quarter-inch too tall, that one shingle on the roof is not even with the others, and that the fingerprints of grandchildren on the windows are déclassé for the neighborhood image. Something else you can do, babysit so they can breathe. Become that crazy auntie or uncle. This one is double fold bonus and provides a gift for the parents, but also for the littles. I personally take great pride that every single one of my nieces and nephews have been taught how to properly eat olives from the end of each finger, much to the chagrin of uptight parents who believe playing with your food is definitely not silly fun. Go to the dollar store, pick up inexpensive coloring books and crayons. Kids love when a grown-up colors with them. Something else, clean a room or the garage with them, and not as a judgment, but as a kindness. No one likes cleaning baseboards or making room for the car because, hello, winter is cold, but it is necessary. Doing it with a friend makes the time pass quicker and the task gets done eventually when you're not gossiping or making coffee runs or, whatever. But it gets done with a friend. Something else you can do is stock their pantry with things they actually use. Coffee, honey, tea, herbs and spices, candles, cleaning supplies, cat food, the mundane stuff that quietly keeps life going. Even toilet paper. Yeah, I remember the great toilet paper shortage of 2021. Yeah, don't do that. And the other alternative, ask them directly, what would make your life easier this month? And if they can't come up with an immediate response, tell them to think about it, about what would truly be helpful and make an actual difference, because that is what you would like to gift them. Give something they'll remember in March, not something they'll regift in January. Something else that gets overlooked, there's a whole category of gifts nobody talks about, and maybe the most powerful category of all, teaching someone a skill, not giving them a thing, giving them capability, confidence, nourishment, memory, self-reliance. Teach someone, if you know how to can, teach someone how to can and give them the bounty. A simple flat of 12 jars, tomatoes, peaches, jam, apple butter, even meat. Cheap ingredients. This will make a huge impact to somebody. Teach someone your signature recipe, caramels, marshmallows, marinara. This is legacy work, something that builds traditions that can be passed down through generations. And we don't do this kind of thing anymore. And I would love to see this make a comeback. You add a handwritten and laminated recipe card, watch grown adults cry. Teach someone a life skill that saves their sanity. Decluttering, deep cleaning in 20 minutes, meal prep, budgeting, sewing a button, checking oil, jump starting a car, patching drywall, replacing a wax ring on a toilet. For every person that sees these skills as a simple and second nature task, there are many others that will address tasks such as these with a dead-eyed Karen stare. And I'm sorry to the Karens out there, but it's true. These are skills that can make a difference to someone when they may be in the midst of anxiety because the task seems too big. Show someone how simple it can really be. Teach a creative skill that connects them to themselves. Drawing, playing guitar, bread making, journaling, crocheting, gardening, herbal teas, DIY soaps and lotions. These are things that are deeply personal and especially to the person being taught. These can be skills that help someone unwind and come back to themselves and focus. Doing something creative with your hands actually changes your brain state. When you draw or knit or knead dough or play guitar or garden, you're activating fine motor pathways that literally tell your nervous system we're safe. It wakes up the somatosensory cortex, strengthens neural synapses tied to focus and calm, and most importantly, it stimulates the vagus nerve, which is the big brake pedal for anxiety in your body. Hand-based creative work increases parasympathetic activity, and this is your rest and repair mode, and it decreases cortisol. That's why people suddenly breathe deeper, unclench their jaw, and feel grounded after 10 minutes of repetitive creative motion. And that's not woo, that's biology. Creativity with your hands is one of the fastest ways to pull yourself out of stress and back into yourself. In the too long didn't read version, your vagus nerve is basically your internal emotional volume knob, and creativity turns that down so you can think straight. And something else that is a big hit with people, if you possess IT voodoo magic, teach a tech skill to someone to remove shame and fear. Teach them how to do screenshots, to upload, resize photos, email basics, how to reset their router. 1 hour of help can give someone back their dignity. And if you tell someone and show someone that oftentimes your IT voodoo magic actually comes from the Google or YouTube, you didn't just give someone a fish, you taught them how to fish. And possibly how to avoid phishing, the pH phishing that leads to being scammed. Teach a spiritual practice without preaching. Breathing exercises, grounding, stillness, gratitude, morning routines, talking to God simply and honestly. Again, shout out to my friend Methods, shameless plug. Number 2, go visit him at Words and Stuff, Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central on Rumble and Pill.net, or catch his shows on the replay. That'll be my gift to you right up front, right here, right now. Give someone the everlasting gift, one that becomes a habit and lasts for a lifetime. For some, maybe even an eternity. This is how you refill the void, not with purchases, but with presence, participation, nourishment, connection, competence, and care. The gifts people remember longest are the ones that made them feel capable, supported, and seen. Stuff fades, skills stay, presence stays, love stays. Not only are you giving something to someone that they may truly need, but it will also truly matter. You're also giving them memories, moments of precious time spent together learning and loving, and most importantly, of living. My hope is that this has inspired you to think about the ways you can give or even receive in ways that actually fill your own void with real purpose. This is how we heal each other in a world that keeps trying to sell us band-aids for soul wounds. It's how we extricate ourselves from the consumerism machine. It's how we make a real and lasting difference when a real and lasting difference needs to be made. Time is precious. Moments matter. Go live your life like you mean it. I love you guys.